1,048 games between them. A special Saturday for the Sydney Swans.
They have been superb tonight. And look at Silk. It has been a masterclass. Handball wide, Martin. Brute strength. Dustin Martin at the Richmond end of the ground. How good is Dustin Martin?
Hello, I'm Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by Virgin Australia. The home and away season, it is done and dusted, with a shock loss to the Eagles shaping the top four. And as I say hello to Jimmy Bartel and Matthew Lloyd, what does that result mean heading into the finals?
It means they're going to have to travel the whole country to win the premiership. I think it makes they go from second favourite, in my opinion, after probably Richmond, who I thought are the favourite going into, now probably fourth or fifth favourite. So made it very tricky for themselves.
Yeah, and a cracking round 23 overall. We saw some great games coming into the final few rounds, and sets up a really exciting final series, doesn't it? Some matchups where we've seen sides play each other recently, in recent times, and almost rematches coming in the first week of finals.
Yeah, it does. Look, the ladder ended up looking this way, and there were some tinkerings with it. Hawthorn sent that curveball through the competition with its win early in the round, but the Bulldogs staggeringly ended up finishing seventh. Yeah,
there's stories on each of these finals, isn't it? When you go through all the matchups, as I mentioned, like some rematches almost happening, some question marks over some finals teams. But for me, Lloydie, the week one games finals matchup, the one I'm looking forward to the most is that one on Friday night, Geelong v Collingwood for me. Obviously, all the questions, Cats coming off a bye, their recent finals record playing at the MCG, but also Collingwood starting to get numbers back and that momentum going forward. Yeah,
I agree with that. Geelong, Collingwood, the number one seed there for finals, but the pressure on West Coast, they're reigning premiers. I think the Doggies got them for speed over there in 2016 in that first Thursday night. I think the Bombers could possibly do that again. And the pressure on Leon Cameron and the GWS Giants not to be beaten badly or even beaten at all by the rampaging Western
there's intrigue everywhere, isn't there? There's intrigue at the MCG yesterday when Brisbane beat the Brisbane Lions, and they've got to do it again, as you just pointed out, Jimmy, in a couple of weeks' time. But Dusty Martin didn't get massive numbers, but to me he was probably the most influential person on the ground. Yeah,
super effective. It was stiff arms everywhere at the MCG, but his laser-like ball use. And I think when he went from being the very good player to the elite of elite that we've seen in recent times, this is it. Look at this ball use. It just cuts sides apart with today's modern defence where zones and defence rules. Someone who can break a line first from the contest, but then use the ball 30 to 40 metres with this amount of speed on it.
Oh, he's in great form at the moment, Dusty. I think as they've got closer to finals, Dusty's just gone to a new level. And I think Lachie Neale got best on ground by most people for his 51 disposals, but I agree. I think he was more influential. He had more metres gained. He had more inside 50s. He kicked 2 goals, and just moments like this, they were pressing here, the Brisbane Lions, just fended everyone off, and he's ready to go, Dusty, for a big final series again.
There were periods in the game where Brisbane Lions looked at home in that stage, didn't they? Yeah, one of their players who's been so crucial to what they've done is Charlie Cameron. He had a tough day at the office, didn't he, with Grimes on him, but he still managed to kick 2 goals. I know that's not what he wanted to do, but it was an intriguing battle.
It was a great battle. Look, they probably broke even. I'd say maybe Grimes got the edge in the end. But had the whole entire Richmond backline. Nick Vlosten was super peeling off. Dave Asprey doing what he does. As a back group collective, they're just firing. And I think we mentioned this about 4 or 5 weeks ago. They've now made the adjustment without Rance. They all know their position, how they drop off stoppages and contests.
So he got a junk time goal late, Cameron. I think Grimes absolutely destroyed him in this matchup. I think he's the best defender in the game by a long, long way. He can play on a small like this, or he can dominate a Jack Darling or a Josh Kennedy later in the final series.
Guys, the other matchups in that Richmond forward line, Adams on Revold, it was just not working for Adams early in the game, and Andrews on Lynch. Are they the matchups that Brisbane has to take into the qualifying final?
Yeah, I think so, Damo, because you have a look at the Adams matchup on Revold, where he got 3 on the lead, absolutely beautiful. We saw one of them with Dustin Martin coming through the middle of the ground. He'd be asking his midfielders to put greater pressure on, like they did against the Cats, where the ball comes in long and high and he can body you up. But that's the reflection of Revold as the champion is. He knows he's got Adams on the lead, so just keep leading on him.
Yeah.
I'd consider Gardner on Revold.
Yeah, right.
Just because Marcus Adams is an interceptor, so I'd nearly have him as a number 3 defender.
Yep. Hawthorn sent that curveball through the competition with its win against the West Coast. It had Collingwood supporters cheering. It meant they got the double chance. But they beat the Eagles at the toughness around the ball.
Plus 14 contested possessions, the Hawthorn Footy Club. And just some of this pressure. Wingard, just probably his best game for Hawthorn in terms of the impact he had, the pressure he laid on. Never seen Shuey get caught caught so often. It was a brilliant performance. They hunted them. Then, on the flip side, they couldn't lay tackles themselves. So it was a brilliant performance by the Hawks.
Yeah, it's contrasting styles are at play here the other night. As Lloydie touched on, their toughness around the contest. Look, the Eagles still won the clearances, but they couldn't get away and effective. And the Eagles wanting to play the uncontested game. They had 50 more uncontested marks and uncontested disposal, plus 30 the Eagles, compared to the Hawks who dominated all the contested stuff. So I think that is the blueprint for the Essendon to have a chance, is to
really
play in the contest but be brave once you get the ball, you just take it forward.
They've got problems. They obviously went narrowly down to Richmond in round 22, but then losing to the Hawks. They're going this season sputtering.
And a lot of players down on form. So Josh Kennedy, 2 goals, but 6 disposals, so he's horribly out of form. Barrett down the other end, horribly out of form. Petrocelli, very nervous and fidgety over the ball. So they've got a few players who just aren't doing enough at the moment.
Ruck's been a problem too. Nick Natanui, as we talk, is planning to play in that first final. But Jonathan Segler dominated this game.
Yeah, it was a domination around the ground. Look, even though, as I mentioned, the Eagles won the clearances, it was the quality clearances. Look at this, Wingard breaking through. And then the Hawks, when the Eagles got their hands on the ball, forced them to quick kick or scramble, handball. But if you can get that out of your ruckman too, marking the footy around the ground, it's just worth its weight in gold.
Against an underdone Tommy Bell Chambers, Natanui, Damo, do you think they just roll the dice and bring him in?
Yeah. In my mind now, they have to. I think what we've seen in the past fortnight is they lack a spark, and I think he could provide it. Whether he can handle it, whether his body can get through even the training sessions, let alone 4 finals. But to me, they are not having any impact unless he gets back in. Just quickly on that, McAvoy played back in that game. Is that his future?
Possibly. I could never have seen this coming, that he could be quick enough. But against the big monsters like Josh Kennedy, it's not a bad matchup.
Okay, you get to the round 11 stage of the season. The Bulldogs were 4-7, closed hard with 8 wins out of those final 11 games. They've found one in Bailey Dale. 5 goals yesterday, 20 goals in the past 6 games for him.
I'd love to be a forward in this team at the moment. Good, full credit to Bailey Dale, but they are lightning quick. They are, with handball. But what they're doing well is they're knowing when to release the ball inside forward 50. And they're lowering the eyes like this. How do you stop kicks like that? You can't. And Dale's a good matchup, because do you play a tall on him or a small on him? A Grimes type is perfect because he can do either.
Yeah, and further that, Lloydie, Hunter, McRae, Bontempelli, Dunkley, in probably those last 8 to 10 games have all had 30 plus. And again on the weekend, all 4 of those mids had 30 plus. But as Lloydie was saying, they know when to take the game forward. And as a forward, you just want speed coming in, because that puts the back line under pressure.
In 2016, they seem to benefit from this post-round 23 bye. Are they going to be disadvantaged by it this time around? They're flying at the moment.
They are flying. I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I think a good rest up for them. Yeah.
On the flip side, the Crows closed their season with 3 losses. There's going to be massive changes coming. It's just a matter of what sort. Players are going to be contemplating futures. Jenkins contracted out, as far as I read it. Jacobs won't be there. Alex Keith looking around. Even Eddie Betts, I think, needs to get his head around wanting to stay at the Crows. There's going to be options for him. And the other one too that's been talked about for some time is Brad Crouch, contracted, but St Kilda's still very keen on him.
And more strong comments from Mark Ricciuto too over the weekend. Do you think the coach may move on, or you think?
I think it's a question that has to be looked at. He's got 2 years of a contract to go. I reckon he will go into 2020. But if they're going to be serious about reviewing that they didn't do last year on the back of the morale issues, which are clearly apparent, they need to, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Geelong against Carlton did what it had to do, finished the minor premier as a result, and just shut Carlton down from a competitive and contested mark situation.
Yeah, I think I've said this to you guys 1,000 times. They're not going to be the last team to go down to Caninier Park in rainy and windy conditions and get touched up. It was their ferociousness around the ball, the Cats. They pinned the Blues inside their forward 50. That's why the tackle numbers were so huge. 18 tackles inside 50. Dalhouse had 5 of those. Zach Tui, as we see here, played as a forward, almost played as a defensive forward as well, Lloydie. I think Chris Scott has looked and gone, if the opposition's got a dangerous half-back, what can we do, but also not lose much as far as ability to hit the scoreboard. Zach Tui played a lot on Nick Newman down there, but look, this is Geelong down in Geelong. They just squeeze the life out of you, and it's just...
Does it mean anything for first week of finals?
It gives a lot of players confidence. Some players who are down, like Dalhouse, who wasn't at his absolute peak where he was at the start of the year, hit the scoreboard and just got involved.
One mark only in a contested fashion was on the Blues stats list. It came to Harry Mackay. They just completely shut them down.
Yeah, they did. It's the one positive of playing for Essendon and Damo. We didn't have to play down in Geelong. So and deal with things like this where they just squeeze the life out of you, as Jimmy said. And that was it for Carlton. It would have been a miserable day playing as a forward down there.
Sort of similarly to what Carlton did against Geelong, GWS got an easy kill in that footy vernacular sense against the Gold Coast Suns. And for the second week in a row, the Suns' backline was used by the opposition to allow a key forward, in Jeremy Cameron's case this week, 9 goals. Ben Brown, Jared Ruff had 6 goals the previous week.
Well, we actually kicked goals when there was some heat on the game. I know it might sound surprising against Gold Coast, but Gold Coast started the game pretty well in that match. But then once the game was over, everyone just started funneling everything into him, and he deserved that. Until the last round, he's pretty much led the Coleman medal the whole year.
They are the most vulnerable side of the top 8. I think the Dogs should go in heavy favourites. Players who have been injured, so Josh Kelly, Himmelberg, Finlayson, those to De Boer, they're there, but fully fit, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Cameron clearly was the spark for the Giants, and the latest Virgin Australia footy family story has brightened the lives of many fans. Here's a look at the Rainbow Crows.
It certainly provides the members with a safe space to be able to come to the football.
Didn't matter pronouns, didn't matter chosen names or legal names, they could just be who they are. It's honestly been one of the most heartwarming things I've ever done.
And for more, head to afl.com.au/footyfamily. Collingwood managed to grind out a Friday night win that proved to be vital in its top 4 quest. And the main man yet again, Jimmy, was Brodie Grundy.
Yeah, the monster. You mentioned that word, grinding. He can grind the opposition in the deck. As we look at the footage here, Big Belcho's trying to go with him. Not many people can go with Brodie Grundy when he's in this mood. And he's getting blocks off the ball too. He gets some help, so that makes it even harder trying to trace around Brodie Grundy. That's what he does. He's another midfielder. He just powers on. The match up with Reece Stanley in the first week of the finals, Lloydie, look, go way back to round 1. I thought, oh no, Grundy's going to destroy the Cats. But after half-time, Reece Stanley was very good on him because he does have the athleticism to match him.
33 disposals on the weekend. One of the great individual ruck performances, Damo. But Port Adelaide, they got the points against Fremantle. Just belted Fremantle.
Yeah, they did.
But Ken Hinkley, what do you reckon?
I read his situation, Lloydie, personally better than Don Pikes. But the curveball on that is David Koch, the chairman, who continually makes noises, and he's got a right to make noises. They haven't made finals again. I feel that they are in a better place than the Crows because they've blooded a whole lot of youth this year and seem to go into the year with that knowledge.
And we'll put you on the spot shortly about who may coach Fremantle next year.
Yeah, well, I think it's Justin Longmont-Mewers as a favourite as we go into it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we had a chat with them between now and Collingwood's first final, of which he's an assistant coach. The Swans did it really well at the SCG, didn't they? The way they farewelled some games greats and also allowed Buddy Franklin to play his 300.
Yeah, how good is this? They all got involved. It was a big celebration, a carnival-like atmosphere up there in the sunshine. But, Lloydie, Jack McVeigh and Nick Smith and Heath Grundy, who weren't able to play but were in the suits. Look, I know people use the word servants. I think servants undersells how good those 4 have been for the club. They've all left a legacy of the Swans. Part of those sides that just always played finals and won premierships. Absolutely left their mark on that footy club.
Talking about culture, and it's those players, everything about the Swans culture. You think of Brett Kirk in the past, well now Jack McVeigh, Grundy, and you see how much Franklin's enjoyed his time there. They're huge losses. Irreplaceable, some of those guys on and off the field. And I love what Brett Ratton said after the game too about St Kilda. He said, if you can't kick, don't bother drafting or coming and playing at St Kilda. So they've got hard decisions to make, whether it's he or another coach. And
someone who can kick is the man who kicked the match winner for North Melbourne, Higgins, who's had a really good season again, won the past 2 best and fairest. Nathan Jones, the co-captain, butchered this ball, Jimmy. You can see the scores, and they've got the lead at this stage with less than 90 seconds remaining, but it ends up with the man who, in North Melbourne's perspective, is the man they wanted to have it.
Yeah, a bit strange pulling it so far inside. Maybe they had it set up that way, but you'd think you'd hug the boundary line and try and lock it down, but it takes a class finish. Look at that left foot snap with someone coming across your foot, but that is Sean Higgins. He'd probably be 3-time best and fairest if he didn't have injuries, or Ben Cunnington's fantastic year. Yeah,
and that's how it's going to play out, I think, and Goldston's had a good year too. The Access Big Ask is what we're about to do now. The first one is to both of you. Yes or no is all that's required. The pre-finals bye weekend is a worthwhile part of the schedule.
No for me.
I'll go yes then.
To both. Does 4th place Collingwood have an unfair advantage playing Geelong at the MCG?
No.
No. Yeah. Yes.
Come on, Jimmy, this one's hypothetical, but it's right up your alley today. Every player that will feature in the finals is lined up against the wall. Who do you choose first?
Just on his past 3 weeks alone, Patrick Dangerfield, he's absolutely at the top of his game at the moment. But Damo, we mentioned it earlier. If you had to call it right now, firstly, the Saints job, And who's got the Freo job after that?
Saints' job is Brett Ratton's to lose, even despite that sort of a slow finish. And I feel Justin Longmuir, provided he presents well, will be the man at the Dockers. Lloydie, does a win in the last round for non-finals teams make a difference heading into the next season?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's anyone who won in that last game that's going to be too excited missing the finals.
And who wins the premiership, to both of you?
Richmond.
GWS.
And who else, if it's not GWS?
Geelong.
What about you, Damon?
Well, I had West Coast until this week. I'm moving to Geelong again. Okay. Yeah. As we head towards that finals series, make sure you're game day ready before you catch public transport to the AFL. Plan your journey at ptv.vic.gov.au/get me to the game. Now, the lighter side of the weekend, what have you brought to the table?
Well, I love Isaac Smith, just the energy he brings to Hawthorn. You see Josh Kennedy having a shot for goal, and you're wondering, why is he doing this thumbs up to a player on the mark? But this is Isaac trying to put off players. He turns backwards, he puts thumbs up, he tries everything, then just has a laugh when it didn't work. So I love the energy Smithy brings to Hawthorn.
Well, Lloydie, I've gone to the coaches. We love zooming in like coaches to get their reactions, and I love it when a coach gets behind a player. Xavier Dersma, the bow and arrow man, gives it for Xavier Dersma, but with a little bit on beat going to Koshy here at the end, just here, pew, cop that Kosh.
Yeah. I think because the siren had gone, he couldn't do it. So it took that man 10 to do it.
Yeah. Good technique. You've got one of those, Lloydie. Lloydie, thank you. Thanks, and Jimmy, and thank you for joining us on Access All Areas, brought to you by Virgin Australia. Have a good week, and we'll see you next Monday. Goodbye.